And we're fucking live.
Hello.
We're doing it live. I'm Adam.
Doing it live.
And that is Matt. And we are three, I don't know what the fuck we are. Backseat GMs is what it is. And we're going to talk about the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers for the NFC Championship at the, as Miles was saying before the show, the big snooze fest. I barely watched shit of it because I don't like Green Bay. So there you go. I didn't think they should have been in it in the first place. I don't think Aaron Rodgers should even still be in talks of being one of the better quarterbacks this year because he's not. So who wants to take that one?
Let's get that legacy thing. I don't know, did you watch it, Miles?
I did.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, to me, if looking at the box score of the game and remembering the flow of the game, basically this is what we wanted the Titans to do to the Chiefs, but they didn't. I mean, when you're talking about handling the ball 30 times on the ground for 220 yards, you're not going to lose the ball game. It's not going to happen. And they did it with Jimmy Garoppolo having a Ryan Tannehill-like performance of 6 of 8 for 77 yards. He had 0 touchdowns. That's what would make him different from Tannehill, at least. Tannehill scored touchdowns. So, I mean, it's just – and their defense, there's no denying that defense. So, Green Bay didn't stand a chance in my eyes. They've come around this year and beat some beatable teams. And here they lost one that they didn't have a chance to win. No way in hell.
Didn't they get their ass handed to them last time they played the Niners?
I don't even know.
I believe they did.
Green Bay traditionally doesn't beat the 49ers in the playoffs, and it seems like they get the 49ers every time they make it that far. Like I think Rodgers is like 1-3 against them in the playoffs, or 0-3 or something to that effect. I don't remember exactly, but it's pretty lopsided. And when the 49ers have beaten the Packers, it's always been by quite a bit. I mean, even back in the Colin Kaepernick days, like they were never really close games.
Yeah, they have receiving threats on the 49ers. They have Emmanuel Sanders and this Deebo Samuel's coming along and coming of age, and George Kittle, for crying out loud. How can I even put him in third place when I'm talking about receiving options? I mean, he's number one. And they had a total of 5 receptions in this game. And I mean, that's just I feel like it's rubbing it in, to be honest. I feel like it's a bit gloating as to look at what we can do and what we can stop you from doing.
Well, supposedly Matt LaFleur is bothered that the Packers, especially the defense, didn't play with their hair on fire, quote unquote. With an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, defensive coordinator Mike Pitney, however, will return as LaFleur's staff member. And they lost to the 49ers 37-8 the first time they played them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, Green Bay is just really – they're kind of in between seasons. They have a lot of pieces that they need. Yeah. They did get Devontae Adams back, and they've got a decent backfield. I mean, they got some things that really should be able to get to work together at this level of the season and be at least competitive. I don't know exactly what happened, but they just got too far behind. And Aaron Rodgers has fallen off. I mean, where in seasons past, I was talking with somebody about this today earlier. When seasons past, he's been able to make up for bad offensive lines, really kind of duct tape receiving cores. I don't think he's ever really had a tight end to throw to, and now he's got Jimmy Graham, but Graham's past his prime. And, him being able to make up for all those weapons while taking on a $30 million a year contract now, those days are over. I mean, they're going to have to kind of do the Elway in the later part of his career type thing where Elway had Terrell Davis and a lot of bigger pieces around him, and he was more of the game manager that had the veteran experience. You're just not going to – as Green Bay is set up right now, they're going to be looking to their quarterback of the future probably in the next 2 years, and they still have a window where they could be competitive with the 49ers or the Seahawks or whoever, but they're about 3 guys short. And I think that goes to the defensive side as well. They just didn't really look like they knew what to do, and they're missing a lot of experienced players. I mean, you used to have guys like Clay Matthews in the middle. Clay Matthews is not a dominant middle linebacker when they switched him to the middle, but he kept everybody where they're supposed to be, and that's something that's really undervalued in some of these players, and they're missing that right now.
Yeah. Green Bay's, I didn't see him winning that game. I can't really say much more about it. I mean, other than I feel like they just kind of had no business playing that team.
I feel the exact same way. I mean, I felt that way since they started the playoffs. And dude, think about it. Yeah, no. It's just if Seattle would have won, wouldn't Green Bay have been the number 1 seed? Isn't that how that would have worked out?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's messed up.
You're talking about that last game of the season?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. See, that's crazy. I don't understand that, and it makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Well, but the 49ers, though, I will say, I was spending my whole time like dogging Green Bay, but San Francisco is really like a well-built, complete team, and it's really kind of nice to see, the story of Mostert, who's there. I guess he's the starter now, and he had like 200 yards and went off. In the beginning of the season, he was the third back behind Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida, and then he's been able to work his way up, and now he's not just the starting back for that team; he's a dominant player, and somebody that they look like they couldn't handle him at all. So you have him and probably the best tight end in the league in George Kittle, and that's a really healthy combination. And Green Bay didn't have an answer.
Their schedule too. It's. I mean, if you look at who they play, it's very forgiving. I mean, we're looking at
Green Bay.
Yes,
Right.
The Bears a couple of times a year. I mean, the Lions. These are give-me's.
Yeah, I mean, they started.
Go ahead.
They started off 5-0 this year. They beat the Lions, Vikings, Bears, and Redskins. Who gives a shit about Redskins? And then Giants.
Yeah, there's another one, Redskins. Yeah.
And their first loss was to the 49ers, that 37-8 game. And then they won against the Panthers, lost against the Chargers.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Chargers at one point in the season were a pretty competitive team. They lost some heartbreaker games, but they were in a lot of them.
But then they went on a run where they won 4 in a row, and that's pretty much what kind of sealed. No, I mean, they really did. They had a good season. I just don't understand how.
Well,
I mean,
they never beat the brakes off anybody. They won some games. They won some close games when they had to. But I mean,
I don't know, dude. I'm looking at
sound like a light schedule to me.
It is a light schedule.
I mean, no one knew this going into it. I didn't think the Bears were going to suck as bad as they did this year.
No, I had a higher expectation for the Bears this year. I gotta admit that, as I did with the fucking Jets
and the Lions. To be honest with you, I didn't think the Lions, and they probably wouldn't have sucked had Stafford not gotten hurt as bad as they did. So, it's hindsight, I guess.
It's 2020. Yeah, that's
good.
Yeah, right. So, what about the Titans and the Chiefs? God damn it!
Oh
my God! I was
Wearing
so
black.
Oh, dude, I was so irritated about that, man. I'm sorry. All right, so our defensive coordinator just retired, and everybody's all butthurt about it. We don't have the players. We don't have a pass rusher. The defense let the guy. They couldn't. God damn it! I'm so flustered right now that I can't even.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I think we have pass rushers. I think the Titans had a couple of pass rushers get after them. They just couldn't get home.
No, the tackling was all but just non-existent. It was terrible. But what happened to Evans?
He got hurt, came back, wasn't really the same the rest of the game.
All right, so he did come back.
Yeah, he did come back. I mean, he jogged off the field when he got hurt. But, I mean, the Titans they don't have consistent pressure. Like, we don't have any guys, I think, this year that had 10 sacks, no dominant players. But, I mean, Jarrell Casey's back there on a lot of those snaps. Because he's interior, he tends to not get a lot of the numbers. And the guys coming off the edge, they've been pretty creative this year, sending, like, linebacker, corner blitzes and those types of things. So, I remember seeing Mahomes move a lot around in that game. But the difference in this game versus the last time when we beat the Chiefs 35-32 is the mobility. He didn't have that the last time because that was his first game back from injury. Yeah. And so he was more stationary. He kind of had that Brady sort of statue pose situation. And this time he was running around. That one run he made was a head scratcher how we couldn't tackle him on that. Yeah. And in all honesty, that's really where the game turned because them going down and scoring at that point, I think that gave them the lead or gave them enough of a lead. We weren't going to be able to come back.
Yeah, it was a 2-score lead after that, and no, it took the air out of them because not only did they score right then, we got the ball back and we downed it, and then they got the ball to start the second half too. So I mean, it was just it was shit. And do we play zone or something? Because it seemed like no matter what, somebody was always open. Somebody was always open, man. It was pissing me off.
We did play a lot of zone. We played a lot of zone. They were terrified of Watkins and Tyreek Hill getting over the top, and that's how they played it. I mean, I remember Romo talking about it on the broadcast, and he was pointing it out. But the problem is when you play zone, I mean, that's Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends against a zone defense.
Yeah,
because he knows all the spots where to sit down and get those like 5 to 10 yard catches, especially down around the goal line. And even if you double him in a zone defense, he's still going to be able to exploit a hole if he has 2 or 3 seconds to run the route. And that killed the Titans. They couldn't keep up, and they didn't have an answer. Where I think on the other side, Kansas City, they started out not having an answer for what the Titans were doing. You know, I remember Henry was running off some chunk plays. We had some good cross route, type pass plays that got down the field. But then eventually we bogged down because they made some kind of an adjustment, and then we couldn't run the ball at all after like halfway through the second quarter. And that was the end of Henry. He had 69 yards at halftime or 60 yards at halftime, and that was about it.
Yeah, he did. I think he totaled like 70 something yards for the whole game, didn't he?
Yeah, but credit to them. I mean, they made an adjustment. They did something that we weren't expecting. I don't play for the Titans. They did something the Titans weren't expecting, and it worked because all the things that we did in the first half, they just didn't pan out the rest of the game. We looked completely lost.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
I don't think it was Tennessee's defense that lost this game whatsoever. I don't put
Really?
I do not, because if you look at this score and the way this game progressed, this is a typical Kansas City game. If you cannot accept the fact that you're going to get scored on this many times by Kansas City and lose because your offense can't keep up. No defense in the NFL it can keep them from scoring this many touchdowns in a game. Maybe the 49ers will be able to. Maybe the 49ers will be able to. But you can't stop Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes scrambling for 15 yards to let him get 80 yards down the field. There's not a play that you can draw up to defend that, I don't think, in certain circumstances. I mean, obviously, usually, they're playing zone and they're trying to do the best they can. But when he starts shaking loose and nobody can catch him in the backfield and all his guys in the outfield seem to know how to get open, I don't know that it's defense. I think you have to expect this. It's kind of like when, if you're a store owner and you expect people to steal, you kind of put it in the budget. This is you have to put this many points in the budget for the football game and expect your team to keep up with them. And they did not. And I blame it on the offense.
I want to disagree. I want to completely disagree because the offense was there the first half of the game.
Exactly.
But they made an adjustment. The problem was we couldn't make an adjustment to them. They shut down our offense. There's no fucking reason why we shouldn't have been able to shut down their offense.
Yes, there is. There's
not.
No precedent in shutting down Kansas City's offense. It can't be. It has been on a fluke occasion, but this is a pretty serious squad here. I mean,
I'm not taking that away from them. I'm not. I mean, you're absolutely right about that. But at the same time, with our defense being as good as they were all year, especially in the last 6 games of the season, you expect them to stop them. You expect now. I'll give you the offense obviously did not have the firepower. A matter of fact, that last touchdown was with about a minute left, so that's why the score was as close as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they need to stop them. That's it. And they weren't able to cover anybody. I mean, why are we just playing soft zone the way they were? I get Tyreek Hill. I get the players. You don't want to go over top of you. What the fuck ever. They could not get pressure on him. He got knocked down once, got sacked once, and all that was in the first half. Steve Spagnuolo made the adjustment on defense to stop Derrick Henry, which when you stop Derrick Henry, when you stop Derrick Henry, you take play action out of the game. And when you look at what Tannehill has done in the past 6-7 games before the playoffs started, everything he did was off a play action pass.
I mean, they set the house after him. I mean, they really got to a point where they had backed us into being backed the Titans into being a very one-dimensional team, and they were back there with Tannehill. It seemed like every snap, and he was just really fighting for air. Not really so much trying to find his second and third read. He was just trying to be able to get out of there alive. And that's, at that point, the game had completely flopped. And, we went from being 17-7 to being behind. And they played like a team who was trying to come back from behind. That's not been their strength all year long. So I was worried that if the Titans had gotten down to the Chiefs, that's exactly what was going to happen. But really, in my opinion, my look at this thing is that, Andy Reid and his staff did a ridiculous coaching job, and they were able to make adjustments on both sides because in the first half, Kansas City was still getting yards. They were still making small plays because we were taking away a lot of the big threats. And 26, I forget his name, the runner for
Williams.
Kansas City. Williams has not been an outstanding player all year, but all of a sudden he's catching passes and getting out because that's the option that was left open because they were taking away everything else. And then, the Titans look just completely flat-footed. They're like, okay, well, we have to cover him. We also have to cover Kelsey and then Watkins and Hill, and it just becomes this death by 1,000 cuts because one of them is going to beat you. And the reason why they were allowed to beat us that way is because we couldn't get consistent pressure on Mahomes, and Mahomes is probably, I'd say he's the best in the game right now at being able to move around and go through all his reads twice and find the open guy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give him 3 seconds, there's no way he's not going to complete the pass, and it did him in completely. And I hate that we're going to lose Dean Pease. I think Dean Pease is a good defensive coach, but someone in that staff is probably going to elevate into that role, and they'll do well with the players they have next year. This is just one game.
All right, so I live in Tennessee, so obviously I'm hearing a bunch of talk about everything that's going on and about people coming and going. Dean Pease. You know who was brought up today about coming here? Not who you think, Miles. Not who I just talked about. No, Bill Belichick's son, Stephen Belichick, for defense coordinator.
He's staying put. He ain't coming here.
Yeah. No, I don't know, but that's a talk. But there's also talk about Tom Brady coming here too. That everybody's like, "What's the chances of Tom Brady coming to Tennessee?" I don't give a fuck. I don't want Tom Brady.
Nobody knows Dick. Who's talking about that?
I know it's just on all the local, radio stations.
You know what? I read. I get a lot of my news from Twitter. I follow a lot of like NFL reporters and kind of these smaller operations. Not so much ESPN, but like Pro Football Talk and those types of guys. And one of them is Jason Lockenfora, not because I think he's a great reporter, because the opposite. He's kind of like one of these guys that whatever he says is going to happen is definitely not going to happen. He's a guy that years ago when the Titans were up for sale, he said Bon Jovi was about to buy the team, and it was a lock. So, yeah, he was talking about Tom Brady to the Titans yesterday, and I'm like, okay, well, that pretty much seals it. He's so full of shit. These guys, man, their sources, they make up stuff to get clicks every day, and that and Phillip Rivers keeps coming up. I don't buy either one of them. They're not coming to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you have any thoughts on what they should do at quarterback, though?
The Titans?
Yeah, moving forward.
You have to be inclined to give Tannehill another year. Mm-hmm. I think you don't sign him to a big contract. He's already made money. He may not try to fight for the brass ring on the contract side again because the Dolphins gave him like a 7-year, $90 million deal or something a few years ago. When they traded him to Tennessee for the 4th-round pick, they renegotiated his deal because he had some years left. So this year was a 1-year, $7 million deal with escalators or incentives, I guess is what you call it. Mm-hmm. But I think he'll take a friendly deal to stay 1 or 2 more seasons. I would like to see if he's going to do the same thing again next year, or if this is like a Kerry Collins, catch magic in a bottle, for that one little period of time. Because Kerry Collins is good in 2008, and then in 2009, when he started out 0-6, he got benched. I don't know that Tannehill wouldn't be like that next season because over his career, he's not been a wildly consistent quarterback. I think they do keep him for another season, though.
What about getting rid of Mariota and getting some young blood in there?
Well, I mean, Mariota's contract's done. So, I mean, it's not so much.
Is he gone, though, for sure? I mean,
yeah, he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's not official that no one's announced it, but, I mean, they're not going to re-sign him.
Yeah, you can't bring him back. That sends a bad message.
Yeah,
I agree. Totally. I just don't know. I mean, what – they're not going to have a good pick in the draft for a quarterback this year, obviously.
No. You'll probably get a veteran guy. You get there's usually a handful of guys that come open and, that will be kind of sitting there maybe around the time training camp comes around. They haven't signed. You'll get somebody like a Matt Moore type, someone who's been around for a good while. I don't want Matt Moore, but, somebody like that.
I think it would be really exciting for Tennessee to get a Rivers or a Brady.
Could be. But I don't think that they'd be worth it, man.
I mean, I would see Tom Brady coming here simply because of our GM and our coach. but for 1 year, that's it. I mean, that's the only time.
That's fine.
Just 1 year. But in saying that, I mean, that's just that'd be cool.
Do you know what would happen to the Titans football club if somebody like Brady or Rivers came in next year and won them the Super Bowl?
Oh well.
I mean, can you imagine what kind of turnaround that would be for that kind of club? I mean, you would have big names. I think it would lift the status.
It'd be like what Manning did in Denver years ago.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
He came in there, and everybody forgets all the madness of the years before then. When you had the end of the Mike Shanahan era, and you had the Kyle Orton era and Tim Tebow and all that stuff. It was a circus for years. Manning comes in there, in 2 seasons they're breaking records, and they got boat raced by the Seahawks. But by that point, they'd already established themselves as like a top 2 or 3 contender every year.
Yeah.
So it's a complete 180.
John Elway is still out here living the high life from making that call 6 years ago or whatever.
He's the Mike Ditka of GMs.
Yes, he is still out here just shitting in high cotton from that decision.
Yeah, hilarious. I love that phrase too. No, I mean, Ditka won a Super Bowl in '85 and coached for like another 15 years and did do jack shit. And Elway's pretty much the same thing. Man, yeah, I know we got sidetracked, but damn, that dude, for as good as he was playing in his career, cannot pick a quarterback to save his ever-loving life.
Nope.
Everybody they've had on that team the last 4 or 5 seasons cannot play quarterback. Paxton Lynch, what team was he on this year? He was the 3rd or 4th string quarterback.
Gosh, was it Miami?
No, I don't. It was somebody who was having a lot of injuries. It might have been like the Eagles or something.
Oh my!
Or the Jets, and I think it was the Jets. And I think they'd signed some jackwagon off the street because they didn't want him to play, so they signed the guy to come in front of Paxton Lynch to keep him on the bench. And this guy was a 1st-round pick, like not that long ago.
That's crazy talk.
It's
so like that though.
He's a Steeler, dude. Steeler.
Steeler, yeah.
Steelers, that's right. That's right. So he was the 4th string.
Yeah, that makes sense. God. I mean, dude, I thought the 4th string was a punter. I just thought that was kind of a given.
Well, the Eagles were talking about having a damn lineman or some shit like that when they were dropping like flies during the playoff game the other day, and it was down to what's our boy's name? He's older than we are.
McCown.
Yes, man. When he started limping, they had one person left, and it was like they played quarterback in high school or something.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that, dude. I remember that game.
Bobby Boucher.
Well, can't hold anything back now. That's hilarious. So, do you think? What about? All right, so Derrick Henry, he's a free agent too. Do you now, with the year he had, what do you do? Because, I mean, the Titans have cap space.
Can they afford their offensive line with him as a unit, a package? I mean, I know offensive linemen don't count for anything, but there's some kind of salary space, aren't they? A couple $1 million.
They've spent a lot of money on the offensive line. They got Lawan, who's on a market level deal.
Yeah.
Ben Jones has been around a while, so I would suspect that he's probably in the $8 to $10 million a year range.
But these salaries are nothing against the cap, right? Don't they somehow ratio this shit, or is it full? If it's $8 million, it's $8 million.
I'm just saying. I think that most teams, when they look at a position, they allot a certain amount, for a certain position group.
Right.
And so I think they're going to be pretty tapped out because they got Nate Davis is the one saving grace because he was a rookie this year and he played amazing. But then you got Conklin. I think this is the last year of his contract. I think it's probably more likely that Henry comes back than Jack Conklin. But, I mean, really, Conklin's kind of a run-blocking right tackle. You kind of would need him to keep the continuity alive of what they've been doing.
Their cap space is $51 million.
I'm sure that they finagle that to where it's weighted on position. There's no way that you get that $10 million for a lineman goes against $10 million for a salary.
All right, so Taylor Lewan cap hit for this year coming up is $18 million. Jarrell Casey's 13. Malcolm Butler is 13. Those are the highest paid. Those are the highest hits that we're going to be dealing with. So you got, like I said, Taylor Lewan, Jarrell Casey, Malcolm Butler, Roger Saffold. I'm terrible at names. Kevin Byard, which he's $10 million. Kevin Byard's $10 million. I thought
he just signed a deal this past year.
Okay, that's why.
Well, they're going to have. I mean, they're one of these teams that this salary space is going to go quick because they've got some pretty major skill position players that are wanting to get paid. So when this happens, I mean, you kind of have now a situation where someone's going to have leverage. Look at Dallas. You know, you got Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott, and they're both up for contracts. And both guys know that whoever doesn't get a deal done is going to get franchised. And the franchise is going to basically choke your salary cap space because now all that goes, it's not spread out over a period of years. It's all in 1 year. So the franchise tag for a quarterback, I think the non-exclusive for this next season is like $26 million. And the exclusive tag, which I don't think Tannehill would get, it's like around 30. So basically you start there. So if you're Tannehill, you can start negotiating if you're trying to get every buck, saying, okay, well, the next 2 seasons, if I was franchised, you know, a la Kirk Cousins the next couple years, you know, I would be due, let's say, $50 million. So, you know, we'll try to do a deal that at least gives me $50 million over the next 2 years. Well, they may not want to sign him, so they have to franchise Henry, and then what do you do about a quarterback? I mean, it kind of just puts you in this weird position. But either way, I think between those two guys, they can wind up spending about 25 or 30 million against the cap next year. And then you still have to re-sign guys and try to dump some people. I think what it's really going to come down to before all that happens is what happens at the draft. I think they really want to figure out what they're going to do talent-wise and who they're going to be able to bring in before they start handing out these big money contracts. So Tannehill is going to get franchised, in my opinion, and then they'll work backwards from there. Henry, I'm not so sure, though.
He's 26 years old, and he's looking for a big contract. And honestly, I'm sorry, I think he deserves it. I really do feel like he deserves it. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to sustain that in the next two or 3 years, I mean, come on, he's 26. He's taking some hits, especially this year. But I say give it to him, man, because right now Ezekiel Elliott is the highest paid running back. Derrick Henry deserves it more than anybody else, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's that whole paradox with running back contracts, right? Because like this rookie can't get but X amount of dollars, and here they are 5 years later, and they're not a rookie anymore, but they've been beaten up for the past 5 years, and they want to get paid, and nobody wants to pay them because they've been getting beat up for the past 5 years.
Yep. Well, I mean, you got to admit, though, with Derrick Henry, it's only been the past 2 years he's been getting beat up. They didn't use him until Vrabel, really. Yeah. They just really haven't. So, I mean, I really feel like he is durable. I feel like I'm not worried about injury when it comes to him. Well, hamstring, but it's a fucking hamstring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation because most teams, I mean, you look traditionally at teams that give away big money to running backs. Those teams don't win. You know, I mean, it's almost you're assuring yourself that
Tennessee did it with Chris Johnson after he had that 2,000-yard season, he was done.
Yeah. All right, and that's going back a little ways, but I mean, there's more recent examples. Even it's still the exact thing. Le'Veon Bell, Jets didn't do anything. You know, who else got a big money deal a couple years ago? Todd Gurley.
Yes, Todd Gurley. Yes, Todd Gurley, and the dude from LA Rams. I mean, LA Chargers too.
Melvin Gordon. Listen, that Gurley thing, I need to know more. Something's weird there. I don't know that it's him that is underperforming or if the coaching is not letting him. I can't figure out the situation.
It's so everybody was speculating for the last 2 seasons. Mike Florio has been pretty vocal in saying that, you know, Gurley had a degenerative knee condition coming out of college. You know, that's why a lot of people weren't going to draft him. So Fisher takes him with a 10th overall pick because Jeff Fisher. And then he starts doing really well, proving all the doubters wrong. You know, like he starts going off and leading the league in rushing, gets the big contract, but that knee problem flared up again. And I think it's a lot worse than anybody's saying. Sean McVay is smart enough that he probably put the kibosh on, you know, hey, you are not supposed to talk about this injury at all. Anybody asks you, don't say anything. We're not going to release any details. It's going to prolong your career. And in exchange for this, you know, we'll keep you on the team where otherwise we could just cut you because he's not really able to play. I think that they're worried if they give him more than 15 carries in a game that he's going to cave in like a folding chair because it's the same thing that's always been going on with him. Now, when he does play, he plays fine, but I mean, it's very strange that a guy is making 10, 12 million a year, you know, in the backfield and you're not just giving him the ball.
It's very NBA.
Yeah.
I'll just sit out this game.
Right.
Hang out on the bench for this one, guys. You go ahead.
I mean, that's the way the Rams played this year, though. I mean, they had a lot of injuries. I mean, that's why they got Jalen Ramsey.
All right.
You know, gave up everything to get Jalen Ramsey.
One thing I like after watching that Aaron Hernandez thing, I guess, and I will bring that up. I've got this conflicted space now that I'm in, especially with this whole CTE thing, because I'm like, there's a part of it that's a deal, right? That everyone knows. There's no secrets. Everyone knows what goes on the football field. It happens. You got a possibility of getting hurt. So I really I found myself not understanding which way to feel about that. And then I started thinking on it on different levels, and I was like, okay, anything less than professional, then it's probably pretty shitty, because there's no financial gain for these kids. They're getting an education. There's this argument, blah, 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 whatever. But, it's weird, man. Like understanding a little bit more about that through these people, I guess, somewhat by watching that video. And I felt conflicted because I don't know how to feel. It's like, should you be surprised when these things happen to you after playing football? Do you have that right?
I don't think so. Just like an MMA fighter doesn't have the right to really.
But have you ever watched anything produced by Mike Ditka on ex-football players? It'll make you cry inside.
I get it. But
I don't know, man. It's such a weird freaking space. I guess I feel like an idiot not knowing how to feel about it, but it's weird.
No, I mean,
I'm not some macho guy that's just going to be like, oh, fuck it all. But I'm not some idiot that's going to just, not recognize any of it either.
I think a lot of it, here's the thing, in my opinion, a lot of things need to change on the Pee-wee level, honestly.
Fundamentally, things like that, yeah.
I mean, start young.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Most of the injuries start young, especially with the CTE. Dude, yeah. I see kids in middle school get way late when it comes to football. I'm just like, if I had a kid, dude, they would not play football. I guarantee you that.
This show last night showed Junior Seau's brain and a regular brain, and you've seen the difference there. Yeah. Well, this Hernandez's brain made freaking Seau's look normal. Right. His shit was like cavernous in areas. Yeah. It was like
he played for like 20 years in the pros.
Yes, that's crazy.
Well, you guys raised a really good point about Pee Wee football, because really what this initiative was, what I want to say it's about 15 years ago now, where they outlawed the helmet-to-helmet hits, the bang-bang plays, and everybody was up in arms. You had Troy Polamalu saying, it's a watered-down version of football. This isn't the football I grew up learning. So that's like, the Steelers' last couple Super Bowl days. We'll call it 05, 06. And it's taken until really just now for it to be like this expected thing, to where if you see old highlights of games and you see guys getting clocked. Remember Chuck Cecil used to be the D coordinator of the Titans? I remember when I was growing up and I was, 80s, 90s watching this dude play safety for the Packers and just come in. I mean, no shame at all. Just straight crown of the helmet, running across the field. Dude's on a crossing route going left to right. He's going right to left and murders this guy, knocks him out. Guy's twitching on the field. They don't show that shit anymore because people can't stomach it, because they are now accustomed to the way things are now. But it's taken this long. So every time you make one of these, major overhauls in the rules to allow for your brain to stay intact, if you play a 60-minute football game, it takes about 10 to 12 years for it to really pass down to that system and become part of the culture.
How long has it been since Shazier got almost paralyzed?
Only about 2 years, maybe 3.
2 years ago, wasn't it?
It's been a while. It's been like over 5 or 6 years, no?
I'll look it up. I don't think it's that long.
I thought it was just 2 or 3 years ago. So, all right, so let me ask y'all this. When it comes to that kind of shit and, the risk of injury, how do y'all feel about removing some of the pads and the helmet?
Yeah, it was 2017.
Yeah.
My bad.
I was trying to Google it because I lost my feed.
That sucks, though. I hate that story, too. Oh, my.
You think no pads, no helmets?
No, I don't think that's the answer, because I know that it is in rugby and such, but that's because, like you were just saying, they've been fundamentally taught not to be dumbasses. where this people have not that are playing this game
No,
here.
they've been encouraged to play that way. They've been encouraged to murder the person that they're going up against, and that's I don't know how to feel about it either, Miles.
Dude,
to be honest with
when
you.
I was in middle school and I played tackle football, that's the way they taught us.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I got laid out and I laid others out, and it was not good. Like we smelling salts, the whole deal. And I can't imagine doing that, until especially at a college level, because listen, man, that's another thing. These coaches of these colleges, dude, I'm sorry, but for the amount of money they're getting paid and the amount of clout that they have, all these accolades that they get for being this football coach, they need to take some motherfucking responsibility for these players. I'm sick of this shit. I don't know. I didn't know. We don't do, blah, blah, fucking blah. Horseshit. They know what those motherfuckers eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They know where they are. They know where they're not. It's that I'm tired of this shit. They need to take some responsibility, because I feel like if a lot of this shit, look at the Jameis fucking Winston here. And that's one great example that's made it all the way through to the prime time, and in the league, everybody knows he's a piece of shit, but somehow he still gets to. I believe that these coaches got it. I mean, it's millions and millions of dollars that they've got riding on this. I understand that, but I don't know. Obviously I'm a little emotional about it.
Well, no, I mean, I totally get. And see, that I feel the exact same way. And you got all these schools, and there's all kind of shady shit going down. Dude, there's still shady shit going down at Penn State.
Yes, that kind of shit. And the coaches are like, duh.
No, bullshit, dude. How can you allow hazing? How is that even still a fucking thing, dude? How is that a thing, dude? And a type of hazing?
Yeah.
I didn't play football or anything, but I got a pretty good. Well, I would just assume that it wasn't all about butt sex. I mean, because that's exactly all the type of hazing and shit that you ever see on this stuff. It's all about, I'm gonna make you suck my dick, and just like, what? Wait, why? Wait, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Like, I'm good, thanks, I appreciate it. And what's sad is all these kids that are getting hazed and shit, they're coming straight out of high school, man.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the college kids, they're also kids, but goddamn, dude, they're doing this to 18-year-olds.
I know, but my main bitch here though is with this whole morality of the NCAA. Get over your fucking self and fucking listen. If you don't want to hold them and act like they're children, pay them. Yep. If you don't want to and if you're going to act like they're their children, then take responsibility for the fucking act.
Here's the thing. I feel really strongly about this as well, and my feelings are very similar to what yours are, because really what the situation is, college football. The infrastructure of college football is completely corrupt at the core. I mean, this entire structure where the head coaches of the top schools and the top conferences and the people who run the bowls get all this money. There's a massive pot of money, and they all are privy to this money. That none of it goes to the players, and it's all guised under this moral noble clause of education. And not only that, they have all these different rules that really make it. Where the haves continue to have and the have-nots never have a chance. Now, you pivot over to basketball. It seems like I do this every week. You pivot over to basketball, and college basketball, everybody's got a chance. College basketball is wide open. College basketball, I could argue, is more fun than the NBA because it's more competitive, and the rules are applied evenly across the board. But in football, it's not that way. Football is the only sport in the collegiate level that operates the way that it does. Almost every other sport in the collegiate level is on this uniform platform. And it's just to control the money. And it's ruined really the head coaches. It's ruined the schools. And the kids end up paying the price. That's why you have teams like Alabama who have 10 first-round picks every year or whatever the damn case is. And everybody else is fighting over the rest. But, I mean, dude, I'd put a college football coach and a car salesman on the exact same level as far as honesty and being able to practice what they preach. They're worthless, man. It's poisonous.
Disgusting. All right, I'll jump down off my pedestal.
And you know what,
I keep going, man.
Mike, what you just said about the college basketball, normally you're right about that. However, this year college basketball sucks. The only thing
it's got its own a little bit of it, but I mean, it's I'd say comparing apples to apples, they're much better.
Fucking shit this year,
Except for that fight.
Well, no, I'll give you that. Did y'all see about that? Did y'all see that fight?
I heard
Kansas,
about it. Yeah.
State. No, I just heard about it too. I didn't actually see it. But that's a perfect example of dude. There's no control over the kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not, and that goes back to what Miles was talking about. The coaches taking responsibility for what they've kind of created. But are they the ones that are creating these kids, or is this the parents? I mean,
they're not helping them. I tell you that much. They are enabling them.
In our lifetime, I'll make this declaration that I'm 38 years old. In my lifetime, before I'm put underground, hopefully, you will see college players get paid, and you will see the structure of the NCAA football power pyramid shift, and some of this stuff will get rectified or become infinitely worse. But in our lifetimes, we'll see that happen. And when you do, you'll start to see unions, and unions tend to come in like you have in the NFL, where they bargain for certain things, bargain for certain rights and protections. I mean, the NFL does not care, to circle this all the way back around, the NFL doesn't care about player safety. They want you to think that they care about player safety so you don't stop watching it.
Hey,
so that's
wrap
really
your head around this one real quick, all right? You seem to understand the financial side of this. There's a basketball player, and I can't remember who he plays for, but he has just recently been able to tokenize his contract, meaning that he's going to use something similar to Bitcoin as far as the technical side of it, the how it's going to be traded and dealt with and passed from one person to the other is going to be through a blockchain. But in essence, what this does is allows this gentleman to basically hand out debt coupons for his contract. So he's trying to raise I think his contract is 30-something million over 5 years, and he's trying to get the first 12 right now out of these tokens. So basically what this is allowing people to do is invest in athletes like you would a stock, essentially.
Wow. They've been trying to do it for a while.
You're hoping that a couple years down the road, I think the minimum amount that he was letting investors do was $150,000. Well, investors don't want to get less money than what they have. So you're hoping that his status and such is going to elevate the price of this denominated token as such that it's going to be higher than what you paid for.
Right.
An athlete's contract, and this has been approved by the NBA.
That's hilarious. All these different sports leagues now, they're all about the investing, gambling, betting, whatever you want to call it, taking some money and making more money out of it. Yeah. Where like 5 or 6 years ago, they didn't want any part of it. Now you get the Las Vegas Raiders and you've got this type of shit. And now they're having the NBA, their NFL draft at the Las Vegas in front of the Bellagio. Yeah. I mean, it's just complete. I mean, it's almost like idiocracy. Like this world didn't exist like 5 years ago. Now everything's looking backwards.
You got ESPN throwing odds up all day long, and there's like an hour-long show in the afternoon dedicated to nothing but sports betting.
Yeah, they cover the lines now. And SVP, every time you watch SVP and he does bad beats, every time I hear him go into it, I'm just thinking, man, they used to never allow this to happen. They used to cuss at the Sports Center anchors. They used to cuss at them for mentioning the lines on air. They used to get reprimanded for that. It's just funny.
Well, New Jersey just okays the XFL bets for the sixth state to allow wagers on the Revive League.
Did McGregor deserve the win?
What's that?
Did McGregor deserve the win?
Fuck yeah.
Did he? I don't know anything about that space, man, at all. I just saw that they were fighting this weekend, and I recognized his name.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the XFL.
No, I know, but I was just wondering if you deserved the win.
I mean, he took him, he kicked his ass. I mean,
but wasn't there some controversy about the knockout being called too early or some shit?
It was not called too early, dude. Okay. He got caught, is what happened. I mean, he won that fight fair and square. There was no cheating to it. You know how he did it? You know what started it all off? It was a shot with his shoulder. It was his shoulder. He hit him like 3 times with his shoulder, and then it was the second one that got him right in the nose, broke dude's nose.
Wow. That'd be enough to put you out of the loop a little bit if you had your nose broke, I suppose.
That's when he caught him with a kick, and that was the end of it. So, wow. No, it was well-deserved stoppage by far.
But that kind of thing sucks for the viewer, though. What is that, 40 seconds or something?
Yeah, it was within a minute of the first round. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had paid for it, I'd been pissed too.
Fuck yeah.
The old Tyson fights. My dad used to tell me about that. And he'd go to like one of these closed circuit places, get his popcorn and soda and stuff, stand in line, and he'd be like halfway in there. People would be running out pissed off because Leon's face got it like 30 seconds. It just reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's pretty much. So I saw where Chad Johnson backed out on his tryout with the XFL. That's why I brought up the XFL.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
he was going out for the kicker for I don't know what team, but yeah,
that's his age.
Yep. That's right. Would you say that's his age? Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. So, who do y'all think? All right. So, do you think it's a lock that Cincinnati's taking Burrows?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Do you think that is there any reason for them to trade out of that spot, even though they've very, very much said that they're not going to do that?
Always a reason. There's always someone who can step up and make an offer that's worth it. Because you look back at teams that have done it 2 or 3 seasons after they make those moves, they're a really strong team. I think the Titans right now owe a lot to the fact that they traded the number 1 overall pick away. So there's definitely offers out there that could be made. And if you make Burrows sound even better than he sounds right now between now and draft time, somebody can step up with a couple of first-round picks. But
I can see that.
I think if you're trying to win next year, I think Cincinnati needs to take him.
Right. And do you think is there a chance? I know it's way too far in advance to even think about this, but do you think there's a chance that the Titans will do something to try to get into the first round to take a defensive pass rusher? Because it's going to happen. That's what they're going for. And I'm saying it right now. I'm saying it right fucking now. Here, they're drafting a defensive lineman rusher.
They've taken defense the last 2 seasons, right? First round.
Good. They needed to. No, they got Corey Davis 2 years ago, wasn't it? Or 3 years ago?
I think he was 3 years ago. They took Simmons this last year, and they took Evans the year before. Or is it Landry?
I thought it was Landry. Okay.
Those last 2 years. The first round has become kind of like a glut of pass rushing talent. I mean, offensive, defensive lines tend to take up most of the picks. I think that there's a chance it could. But, I mean, John Robinson, I got a lot of faith in what he's going to be able to do. He's proven being able to go up and down the board if he sees a player he likes. So I wouldn't put it past him. But
as of right now, all the mock drafts that I see have, either Terrell Lewis or Curtis Weaver, but they're all defensive guys, and most of them are edge guys too.
I could see him taking a good blue chip tight end or something if they fell to the back end of the first round.
I would love if they take a tight end. I would love that. But, I mean, it really, in my opinion, it depends on what they do with Tannehill. That's going to be, we need to know what the hell we're doing. Dude, because there's no more time for experimenting. There's no more time to take gambles. We made it to the AFC Championship game. There's no, let's see if this works type attitude. No, you got to get the shit and you got to get it done right.
I agree. Everybody has a window.
And it's a small window.
That's what she said.
That's what it is. All right, cool.
I got the Chiefs.
You got the Chiefs?
Yeah.
I'll take it. Man,
it's too close to call. It's strength on strength.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm taking the 49ers. Sherman.
Okay.
Richard Sherman. Don't you be shaking your fucking head.
Yeah, yep. I wouldn't. He's not enough of a factor.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think.
Some good games in the postseason this year, dude.
I don't think that he's as good as everybody says that he is. I think because he talks about all the good things that he does so much, I think he sells himself. He does a good job of his PR machine making himself sound better. But he's not the reason why they won. The 49ers defense is good because their defensive line. And Bosa, he's disruptive. I think if Bosa cuts loose, I think he might stop Kansas City. But I give the edge to the 49ers. This is almost like an even, though. I wouldn't give either one of them points, man. It's strength on strength.
Do you think the 49ers have a better running game than the Chiefs?
Yes. Chiefs have no running game for the most part. They scrape one up when they need to. But they live coming out of the backfield without the ball in their hands.
I'm going to say that's what's going to give 49ers the edge is their running game.
I look at stats, man. I'm looking at these box scores from last week, and it's just I don't see how. I see how you can stop the run, okay, and make Garoppolo play the quarterback, and that's what they're going to have to do. Maybe not. I mean, San Francisco hasn't been able to run down your throat like this all fucking season.
No. I agree.
This is relatively new. They've had a few games with plus 100 yards, but this 200 plus is not. This is not a fluke, but it's not something that's going to happen this coming week.
It's a fluke. Right. It's a fucking. But Garoppolo, dude, he is very underrated in my opinion. I think he's the reason that the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you this: I'm not betting it on talent level. I'm betting on coaching. And I think that Andy Reid might pull this out for himself.
Yeah, man. Even there, it's hard for me to get the edge either way because Shanahan's had such a good season.
It's tough.
It's coach of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mike said that. I agree. We're all agreeing on that one. I agree with that.
He's coach of the year.
Yeah.
I didn't know Mike said that, so never mind.
Earlier. It was some other episode. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, he's impressed me a few times this year, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be a good game. I hope it's a close one. I hope
Do you not watch these? Do you not watch these a few times before the next one?
Who, me?
To get ready to reference.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Hell no, dude. I've watched a little bit of one last week, and I called Mike up. I was like, dude, do I really stutter as much as I think? Dude, I listen back to some of these episodes. It sounds like I'm straight up fucking drunk. And I don't even drink.
It's hard to watch myself and hear, listen to my voice on tape. I want to go and hide somewhere every time, but I do it. I have to admit.
No,
sometimes
I don't. I have not watched one episode, not once. Matter of fact, the very first episode that me and Mike did, Mike messaged me the next week like, "Dude, please take that shit down. It's a fucking train wreck." I was like, "All right, cool." I didn't even look at it, dude. But I know I stammer. I know I stumble over my own words.
The first episode was us like trying to figure out the navigate the journey through the whatever software we're using at the time. Yeah. This goddamn thing will work for like 30 minutes.
Pretty much. That was pretty much the whole gist of it.
Now,
so y'all want to do this again next week, or do we give a fuck about the Pro Bowl?
Let's do it next week. It'd have to be about the Pro Bowl. There's usually like some kind of splash storylines. I remember last year during this period of time, it was a lot of talk about Alex Smith and what's his name being traded. Or no, it was 2 years ago, Super Bowl. So during the Super Bowl lead up, they were talking about Cousins and Smith getting traded for each other.
Eli's retiring Friday.
Right. So see, there's some stuff.
Yep. That have we already mentioned that, or is that the first time that's been mentioned?
I think it's the first time in front of the camera.
Right.
Hey, the Caesars has got Kansas City winning.
It's possible.
I think
if they get the lead, they're not going to give it up. If they don't get out in front, it's going to be a real close game.
Yeah. I don't know, man. After watching him these past two playoff games, Mahomes, that is, he is just really something, man. Like he makes Lamar Jackson like I've forgotten who Lamar Jackson is now all of a sudden because
it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about this last night. I'm trying to fall asleep and somehow like I'm kind of going over a couple things in my head and it just kind of crossed. It's like everybody was talking about Lamar Jackson being the runaway MVP before Mahomes got hurt. He was on pace to smash every single season passing record this season. And people forget because he went down in like week 5 for like a month. But had that not happened, he would have been the clear-cut MVP. And I think he's finally, just now with the bye week in the playoffs and all that, he's finally back to that point. Because these last two games, I don't care who those teams he would have played would have been. I think he would have tore them both up. And the Titans holding to 35 is pretty impressive if you really consider it.
I absolutely thought it was impressive, and I really, fuck them.
Come on, man. The season's over. They're already dead.
No, I give it up to the Titans. I love them to death, but, dude, their defense – I'm sorry, you're supposed to be able to stop that guy. But he's just that good.
Next year.
Yeah, he's just that good. All right, well, cool. We'll do it again next week, and I'll see you guys then.
Later, kids.
Later.
All right, later.